Gordon Hayward looked at the East. He looked at Boston. Being an all-star is important to him. Being all-NBA is important to him. And having a chance to compete for an NBA championship, Utah's got a great group of players, front office, coaching staff. It was arduous for him to extract himself. But in a year where all-stars like Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Paul Millsap have gone from East to West, this is an elite player in the West who said, if I want to improve my stature in this league, I'm going East. And listen, Boston is a compelling place to play. Obviously, the familiarity with Brad Stevens, his coach at Butler, played a part too.
I think there are two parts to this. There's the now and then there's patience, right? There's the now of Golden State is just loaded, keeping all their ancillary pieces already with the re-signing of 3 of their players and obviously having the core 4 there still. So they're going nowhere. I don't think anybody's beating them. So you have to wait. It's going to be more. Will it be? I guess it's that question. Will it be more about what happens to Golden State and losing players, or what a team can actually build in the West to knock them off? And then in the East, I think it's patience. LeBron James, and let's put away he's going to go play with the banana boat guys, which I think is ridiculous. Go to L.A. because he wants to finish out there because he wants to be in Hollywood, which I question as well. I'm on the other side of this a bit on that. So let's just go my way for a bit and say he stays in Cleveland. How many more years are they what they are? How many more years can they do that? Can LeBron be LeBron? So my point is, whatever number you want to say, it's not a big number, right? It's not a large number. So you show patience. You build in that and be ready to take over when we're ready for that switch. If LeBron were to stay in Cleveland, let me ask you this. How does it stay? Does he stay in Cleveland longer to keep the team going there and doing what they're doing, or the core 4 in Golden State?
Are you asking, which do I project to happen? I believe the core 4 of Golden State is going to stay together longer. Because I believe that next year is going to be LeBron's year in Cleveland. And I base that exclusively on what everyone else. Yeah, his last year.
His year, okay.
Sorry, his last year. And I base that exclusively on the fact that everyone seems to be saying it.
I guess
people who are more connected to it than I am.
I'm with you. So I may be so wrong in this. I'm just trying to put a little common sense into this. That all of a sudden LeBron James, who understands legacy and history, will just choose to go somewhere that's stocked and loaded, even though I know he believes he's the best and he's the best player of what they can put together to try and knock off Golden State when he is in a position right now for the next 3 years to meet Golden State in the finals every year and try and build a team that could beat him.
Here's what you don't know. I don't know if LeBron James thinks that Kyrie Irving, that's his number 2 there. Kevin Love is an all-star caliber player and all that. But his number 2 guy is Kyrie Irving. I don't know if he thinks he has a better chance. Take conference out of it, because at the end of the day, to win the championship, you have to beat Golden State one way or the other. So does he have a better chance of doing it if the next guy on his team is Paul George, or if the next guy on his team is Kyrie Irving? Yeah. And maybe he thinks I got a better chance with Paul George. And maybe he thinks Paul George and I can play together in Los Angeles, or whomever else it is he thinks it is.
Right.
I want to go back quickly to what Woj was saying about Hayward trying to increase his stock in the league. Because there's 2 different things. It's about winning,
right,
and it's also about, like I'm just looking at it last year. Jimmy Butler was a starting forward for the NBA All-Star Eastern Conference team. So he moves out of that spot. The starters last year for the Eastern Conference were Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak,
right,
Butler, and LeBron, plus Kyrie and DeMar DeRozan. Right. That was the starting. There was no center, so there were basically 3 forwards.
3 forwards, right.
So with Butler out, does Hayward look at it and say, I could be an all-star starter? Like, that kind of does change your, even if you look at it and say in the West he wouldn't be even close,
right,
because the West All-Star starters were Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
Russell Westbrook came off the bench in that game. Anthony Davis, who's basically a forward, was also a starter in that. Gordon Hayward's not cracking that group.
No, he's not. And throw another guy out of the East. Paul George's out of the East as well.
Right, and now Paul George goes out there to the West. So maybe he's looking at it and saying, I could be an all-star starter. Yeah. It could change my whole standing in the sport, even if I'm not actually a better player than I was, but when you compare me to the other guys in my conference, if you're an all-star starter, if you're walking out there at the start of the all-star game, it does change people's perception of you.
There's nothing wrong to have that as one of your thought processes.
Yeah, and so I hadn't even thought of it that way till I just heard him say it.
And it may not be. Who knows? But the stock did go up there because not only him going there, but obviously the people who left.
One other thing I want you to hear, and then we can discuss it a little bit off the top of the hour, and that is Kevin Durant taking less money. Did he take less money because it'll enable Golden State to get more players, or did he just take less money to save the owners some money? That's really what this thing comes down to, and Brian Windhorst sort of spelled it out pretty well.
I don't think we're going to get a tweet from LeBron congratulating him on the contract like with Steph Curry. Because when players do stuff like this, it irritates other players. Because him leaving money on the table doesn't benefit anybody but the ownership, which, is fine. And, he's not paying Andre Iguodala. He's just keeping more money in Joe Lacob's pocket.
Listen. I'm not going to sit there and get aggravated with that. LeBron, I know LeBron's the vice president of the union. Chris Paul is the president. But, you're not taking any money out of players' pocket. Okay, you're not. This is all about the luxury tax, the part paying over. And so what? So what if he saved them some money? I know these top players are complaining. What LeBron say there shouldn't be. You've talked about it. No salary cap, or no max. Let the guys make whatever they want. Whatever. I mean, that's fine. They're making good money, and you know who's benefiting? The mid-level players and other players, guys that we never heard of making a lot of money. They have to spend the money. They have to spend it. So it's not like you're taking money out of anybody else's pocket. Okay, if you're saving the owner money, so what? So what? Are we going to have a conniption about that? He's not hurting any players of making the amount of money that they can make. And if he's trying to help, then he's trying to help.
Previously on Mike and Mike.
ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst going to join us now.
Brian, we heard reports that LeBron James wasn't going to be courting free agents this offseason, and we also heard reportedly with this story that Chauncey Billups had not spoken to LeBron James before making this decision. What does that say to you about this offseason for LeBron and the Cavs?
One, I think it's just, can we please, as a country on our birthday, can we all agree to stop talking about that LeBron runs the Cavaliers? Because I get every place I go in the country, people say, but LeBron just runs the Cavs. And for the last 2 years, I've been saying, he actually doesn't. Everybody thinks he does, but he actually doesn't. And people just, you're full. You're just carrying water. You're in the tank. I'm telling you, the guy doesn't run the team. He doesn't even really want to run the team either, but he doesn't run the team. And this is seriously example like 78 and 79, what you just said. Secondly, he may not be consulting with Jose Calderon before they sign him. And so saying that he's not recruiting free agents may be technically accurate, but that does not mean he is not involved. I can tell you that LeBron spoke to Jimmy Butler and spoke to Paul George to try to encourage them to want to be with the Cavs. Now, they were not free agents, so it's not by definition free agent recruiting. But the concept that LeBron is not involved in what the Cavs are doing, that's not true. And Paul George, it was especially important because both Paul and LeBron are going into the final years of their contracts. And had the Cavs been able to execute that trade, they would have been in a position where they would have wanted assurances from both Paul and LeBron about the future. And LeBron and Paul talked about that.
For more Mike and Mike, check out the podcast on the ESPN app.
And the biggest in significance, not in total dollars, was Kevin Durant staying in Golden State for a little bit less money. Our Tom Penn explains.
Here's what they did. First priority was Steph Curry, the full boat.
Right.
They're spending this money. They knew then they could go give Andre Iguodala more than they expected at 14.8. Sean Livingston was day one. They got him done at $8 million. So you're seeing it tick up.
Yep.
Now they're out of cap room. They never really used cap room. But if they want to keep their gang together, you come down here and they brought in David West at $1.5 million. They're still the same team. And they could re-sign Zaza in his own slot at 3.5. I'm going to assume that, okay?
Yep.
Now let's go to what this next move might be. And this next move might be, what did we say, either Crawford or Nick Young. So Nick Young could come for the $5.2 million exception. I've put him at 5. Let's put him in there. Jamal Crawford all of a sudden could maybe be that player
taking a big pay cut
that comes in at 5. So now they're over the cap, but now it's a tax story with Durant. So back to his optionality. Had he come in at the full 31.8, that cost them $42.7 million in luxury tax.
Right.
Now look at when he took his haircut and he comes out here and he brings it down to say the $25 million that they were saying he's going to start at. Now look at that difference. Watch the number and how much he saved them. Wow. He saves them that much money that then gave them the flexibility to do these other things and then add more veterans.
So what do you think?
Well, listen, I mean, we've seen other guys do this. We've seen Tim Duncan do it. We've seen Tom Brady do it in the NFL. Some players do it, some players don't. I mean, so it's whatever you think. Some are going to take their money, take the full boat. I don't think this is going to be something you're going to see a ton of people do, but not a ton of people can have the impact like that with the amount of money they can make.
All right, let's do SportsCenter right now. All right, here we go. SportsCenter headlines begin with Gordon Hayward signing with the Celtics, sharing that decision in an article on the Players Tribune. The big question is, does that give Boston a legit shot to compete with Cleveland in the Eastern Conference? We're talking about that this morning. And other NBA deals like restricted free agent Otto Porter Jr. agreeing to a max deal with the Nets. The Wizards are expected to match that offer, sources telling us at ESPN. And Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks 4-3. Clayton Kershaw had a no-hitter going into the 7th. Struck out 11. He's been just on fire all year long. SportsCenter with Mike and Mike, brought to you by Jersey Mike's.
Rock this way with Jersey Mike's and Pepsi, and you could win the music trip of a lifetime. Stop in Jersey Mike's to enter. Jersey Mike's, be a sub above. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends August 14th. See official rules at PepsiRockThisWay.com.
A reminder, there are some stories you have to hear to believe. Introducing 30 for 30 podcasts, all new stories from the producers of the acclaimed 30 for 30 series. Subscribe now in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. All right, some Twitter through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Robbie tweets, the Clippers will be better than the Rockets. OKC will be a joke, and the Celtics will be in first place again. I don't agree with any of that. There's actually 3 separate statements there.
Clippers better than the Rockets.
Disagree.
Oklahoma City a joke. I don't know how they can be a joke.
Correct.
And
I disagree on both of those.
The Celtics could be in first place again. That's the one that could happen again, depending on the rest you get in Cleveland, right?
They're not going to be
last year.
They're going to be in first place again in the completely meaningless way in which they were in first place last year.
Yes.
So will they finish with the best record in the Eastern Conference in the regular season next year? That's possible. But that's not what anyone is thinking of when they think about what you're not making these moves because trying to hold on to the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference regular season standings. Have they closed the gap between themselves and the Cavaliers with this move? I guess they've narrowed it.
I guess you could say you narrowed it, but
they're unquestionably better than they were.
They're better. It's a process. It wasn't a one-move thing for the Celtics. The only one of the one-move things we've seen is a one move when LeBron goes to Miami, a one move when he comes back to Cleveland, a one move when Durant goes to Golden State. Other than that, there's going to be some multiple moves for other teams.
How about this? Oklahoma City will be a joke business. I think Oklahoma City has a chance to be really good.
I look forward to seeing where that goes, what happens with Russ and with Paul George there. But again, you just have to wonder as you watch the season go, because the 2 teams you mentioned have 2 big-time players who moved but are going to be free to move again. Paul George is going to be a free agent, and Chris Paul can as well. It's a player option for next year, so he can be free again. So you just wonder how much, if it's just 1 year you're going to see with these guys.
Michael Angeli tweets, is it fair to make Clayton Kershaw, Peyton Manning comparisons with great regular seasons and poor playoff performances? Peyton had a lot of very good playoff performances also.
Yes, he did.
He just lost some games, and some of them did not play as well. At the very end, when they won the championship, he was, because of injury,
wasn't what he was. Sure, certainly.
But Kershaw, less so. Here we go. Kershaw is in line to have the lowest ERA. Okay, so this is good. Kershaw is in line. It's well done by Hembo there. Let me give Hembo a little gold star. We gave him some homework, and he did it.
There you go.
I wanted some context to the stretch of seasons that Clayton Kershaw is putting together. He is in line to have the lowest ERA in a 5-year span in baseball history. Now, think about all the different eras that we've had in baseball, including a period of time there in the 60s where they felt that they needed to lower the pitcher's mound because the pitchers were so dominant. And now we're in an era where they're hitting home runs at a higher rate than at any other time in baseball history, to the point that the conversation is, are the balls juiced? And Clayton Kershaw, over a 5-year span, has an ERA of 193. In that time, he's won 3 Cy Youngs and an MVP, has finished in the top 5 in voting every single year. He's 112-39 with a 2.09 ERA. The only pitcher of recent vintage with a more dominant 7-season stretch than Kershaw going back to 2011 was Pedro Martinez from 97 to 2003 at the height of the steroid era.
Right.
So Martinez, I think, over that period of time, was he the best pitcher you ever saw for that stretch of time? He's got to be right up there. That little period. Again,
and I was always amazed because of his size too, just the way he threw the ball.
He was impossibly good.
In that
Kershaw's
time,
been that good. I mean, he's that good.
Oh yeah, Kershaw is that good.
He's that good.
But again, we wait for the postseason. You know, we wait for it to happen in the postseason. That's where we say, okay, been there, done that. Okay, you're great. We get it, and he is. He absolutely is great. I would go watch the guy pitch any day of the week. But from a baseball standpoint, right, when you start talking about lists and all-timers, you know that your legacy's made in the post, and that's where he's going to have to show up next, right?
Who is more dominant in their sport, Clayton Kershaw in baseball or Joey Chestnut in hot dog eating?
Oh, Joey Chestnut.
You're a big fan.
Joey Chestnut, 10 years. 10 years with the mustard belt. 72 dogs the other day.
Mustard belt.
I mean, seriously. 10 champ. You know what? And this is Major League Eating, so there's a ton. He has like 40 records. So there's all kind of like a regular season, and then this is like the Super Bowl. He shows up, right? Gets it done. When the lights are brightest, Joey Chestnut is there chomping away. I know you get disgusted watching it as we're showing video.
It's so disgusting.
I get it.
I can't even fathom it. The question I have, I know some people are offended by the whole nation. I'm not. I'm just nauseated by it.
Right,
I'm not offended by it.
Right.
I just find it grotesque.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. The period of time after which you do this to when you don't feel awful, right? Like, even these guys have to feel just awful
they
after
have
this
to.
physically.
I don't know.
Is it hours? Is it days? Or is it weeks?
It's a whole nother world. I mean, of what they're putting in them. I don't know. I mean, I've certainly eaten my share of things and felt it, you know, be it hot the one day with Jamel when I lost the bet to her. I mean, the day at home at my house was worse than me eating it. It was awful.
But you seemed fine the next morning.
Yeah, I was fine the next morning, but I'm not shoveling down, you know. He did 72, you know, so most guys probably in the 30s or so. They're shoveling a lot of hot dogs. I mean, I would imagine it'd be a while. Now, I don't know what goes on after. You can only imagine what may go on after this thing. I don't know. But, man, that's got to stick with you for a while. But it's just – it's so tongue-in-cheek to listen to it. I just, Joey, you know, ESPN threw up the graphic of championships, you know, guys who have won that many. I thought it was great. And Joey talks about how he trains for it. He says, I loved his line that he says, it's not like I go to buffets. I'm not a buffet buster. You know, I train specifically for this. The breakdown is, listen, I think it's entertaining. George Shea, when he does the introductions, it's so entertaining. I get a kick out of it. I like it. I know I went at it a little bit with Peter King, actually, on Twitter last night about it. Some people are offended by it. You don't like it, don't watch it. That's fine. I enjoy it. I watch it. And it's to me, it's entertaining. They make it entertaining. But I can see how you would be nauseated.
I can't even watch it.
I know.
Like, I can't watch.
I get it.
It makes me feel sick to watch it.
And there are a lot of people. We did the over-under on me. I think it was 19? I don't think I would be over that. I really don't. I mean, that's not only a lot of food, but it's speed eating as well. I know 10 minutes isn't all this, but you're getting after it. And
yes,
man,
that's speed eating. No, that's fast.
I couldn't get that
eating
clip.
19 hot dogs in 10 minutes is
I couldn't do it.
It's everything. It's fast, it's gluttonous, it's disgusting, it's everything bad you could possibly be.
I think I could be in the teens. I just don't know where in the teens. But back to your original question. Yeah, Joey Chestnut, dominant.
So
Dominant.
you would put him as the GOAT. Is he the GOAT? I don't follow this. I have to admit. I'm fascinated. Hembo, do a little research for me here. No, I'm kidding.
Kobayashi was a big time eater as well, but he hasn't been in this. There was some controversy.
He's a very small man too.
Very small man, but he was a stud in this, and it was he and Chestnut that were the rivals there. But Kobayashi hasn't been in this for years. So a guy named Matt Stoney has been there, and I forgot the dude who came in second. I feel horrible. I forgot his name, but he is the one who says he wants to knock Chestnut off the crown. He doesn't want to wait till Chestnut retires. He wants to beat him at his own game. The kid who came in second, and I'll get his name. I apologize for it. So I like the attitude, but Joey Chestnut is just no one to be messed with right now.
And you know what your problem is, Mike, is that you were just a little bit late on your time. That had you been in the very first official Nathan's Famous International Hot Dog Eating Contest in 1972.
Yep.
Do you know how many the winner finished?
14.
That's correct.
14.
That's when there was no competitive eating, no major league eating, and it was just a hot dog eating contest like you might have at a state fair.
Exactly.
And they've turned it into something like this.
Oh, I mean, 40,000 people showing up at the corner there, surfing Stillwell. And Carmen Sincotti, I believe is how you pronounce it. Carmen Sincotti he's a third-ranked eater in the world. Matt Stoney is second. Obviously, Chestnut is first, but Sincotti got second. He ate 62.
62.
And I think it was a personal best for him as well. So, he stepped up pretty well.
I would hope it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, one man's personal best is another man's personal
worst. Is that what you're striving for, to be your personal best?
Most certainly not.
I know our guy in Wimbledon strives to do his personal best all the time.
Okay, well, that's an excellent setup because I want to get to that as we continue here on Mike and Mike Plus. We have not, but I promise we will hear from the insiders on what all these NBA contracts mean. That's coming up next. We're Mike and Mike. Right now, a word from Goodyear. Golick expert drivers demand a lot from their tires. From fire trucks to race cars, Goodyear tires offer superior traction and handling and performance.
Goodyear offers superior tire performance where the road takes you for traction and handling. In challenging weather, make sure you choose Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for expert drivers inspires what they roll into yours. Find the right tire for your vehicle at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, more driven. We're back after this on Mike and Mike.